Hello, and welcome to Live, Laugh, Lol.
We've got cancer.
Woohoo!
Woohoo! Woohoo! Wow, that's a new one.
Currently getting skin cancer.
Yeah, but we did talk about the risks of, we've already got stage 4 of one kind.
Yeah.
Surely that brings our risk down of having a second primary.
I don't know, but you can do that. You can get 2 primary cancers.
Yeah,
which
you can.
I feel would be really, really cruel. I have got SPF on everyone, just factor 50 plus.
And I've not yet, but look, I've especially angled myself to be out of the sun because the sun's going to blind me. So apologies if I've just got massive squinty eyes today because I can't see. It's too bright. And I know, I'm aware I'm in the shade, but it's too bright.
It's okay, I'm enjoying it.
Okay, yeah, I'll just keep looking at you.
Okay.
And then you get a full face tan as well if you look this way.
Excellent.
Rather than the half face tan you get when you face the screen.
Just tanning this bit.
Yeah, why not? Don't make me look at that. It literally makes my eyes water. It's so bright. Okay. Anyway, what have you been up to this week?
This week has been quite quiet for me, and I should say we're going to talk about food this week.
Oh, yeah.
Which is ironic because I haven't been able to film or do a lot of things because I've been so nauseous from the chemo, but it's okay. Talking about food today, out in the sun, I'll be all right.
We've got a lot to say on food. I've got some really hefty rants coming, and you do as well.
Yeah, I do too.
So we've got a lot to say on the matter. So we won't do too much on what we've done this week.
Yeah, but what have you done this week, though?
I feel like I only saw you 3 days ago.
I know.
And that's when we recorded the last one. What have I done this week? I have no idea.
Excellent.
But this weekend, I'm off to London.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, to do a walking marathon with the Moonwalk, Walk the Walk, the charity, to do their challenge, the Moonwalk. And we're walking a marathon, and we set off at 11 p.m. in Clapham, and we should get back at about 8 a.m. in Clapham.
Wow.
Yeah, so the walking doesn't bother me, but the walking on tarmac is a little, I don't know what my feet will do, because I'm used to walking in the countryside.
Yeah.
So we'll see. But I'm looking forward to it. I've got a whole bunch of friends coming, like 14 of us doing it. And we've raised loads of money. So far, it's not over if you want to donate.
Yeah, we'll put a link on our Instagram.
Yay, yay.
Is it breast cancer? What charity is it raising money for?
So Walk the Walk's a charity, and then they give money to help with research, and I think that they kind of choose what's going on. Nice. But yeah, it's breast cancer vibes. Everyone's meant to wear a bra. And the theme is musicals, so you're meant to decorate your bra. And yeah, we'll see. I was about to get in a really long, boring story about the theme, but I'm not doing it to you. It's gonna be okay. You don't need it.
Check it out on Instagram, and if you've got some spare pennies,
then please donate.
Donate for research, because we want to find a cure.
Yeah, we're just looking for the cure, people.
Yeah. But this week we are going to try not to rant too much, but we are going to talk about food. Food.
Okay, I'm going to go straight in.
Ooh, go.
So it really is frustrating how they don't talk about food like it's a medicine. And okay, I get that it's not a medicine. I obviously love the medicine that the doctors give. I'm not against that at all.
No.
I want my ribociclib, love my ribociclib, blah, blah, blah. But they're just not fussed about what you put in your body. And then I was saying, when I first got my diagnosis, like in the early stages, I was saying I'd read all online about different diets, and there's so many different diets, and you can end up taking loads out of your diet. So I was saying, oh, well, you know, I've cut out alcohol, I've cut out sugars and carbs and blah, blah, blah. And they're like, well, if that makes you feel like you've got more control, maybe it's worth it. And I was like, you're basically telling me that it's pointless, but mentally it might help me. It kind of felt like it devalued what I was doing.
Yeah.
And fine, but it annoys me because I'm like, so this is why it annoys me. They will give me like injections to take estrogen and to take progesterone away from my body. They will give other people HRT or whatever it is to give them estrogen into their body. They do the same with other stuff like cortisol. You can have tablets. There's loads of stuff where they will enhance your hormones or whatever else is going on in your body. They will enhance it or they'll take it away. And yet we know that foods provide a lot of that stuff. Like you can get foods with phytoestrogens in, or estrogens even, which is why some people give up dairy and meats. But they're not asked to bother you about the diet. They just want to fix it with the medicine and not the diet. And that frustrates me, because I think, but the diet is something I can control. And how can you give me the medicine and tell me that's important, but the diet isn't important, even though I could be giving myself loads of estrogen through what I'm eating?
Yeah, and it's the majority of what you're putting in your body, isn't it, every day?
Yeah.
So you would think that it would have an impact, but I think we've both found this, that early on, the dietary advice that we were given was not that beneficial. We've had to really find it on our own, really, haven't we?
Yeah, well, for me, they only kind of nutritional advice they would offer would be a general health nutritionist, which is like 5 fruit and veg a day type thing.
Yeah, I had that as well.
And then
they gave me a nutritionist from the NHS, and it was have a healthy, balanced lifestyle. And you're like, well, what does a healthy, balanced diet mean? Like, there are so many different variations of, you can have keto, you can have low carb, you can have...
I don't think it's as simple as that either. I think they're just fobbing us off. But with you, they did say healthy, balanced diet, but then they went one step further.
So right at the start, because it's a bowel tumour, they were concerned that my things might get blocked, let's say.
She might get constipated.
Yeah, and that would be really dangerous, because I would have to then have like a stent put in to unblock my bowel. So that would actually be
a problem.
Yeah, and that would kind of disturb my treatment and chemo and things, I would imagine. So at first they said, to be on the safe side, you need to go on a low fibre diet, which meant, I mean, I am still slightly confused by this, because you think that fibre gets things moving, but apparently fibre binds things up. And so I wanted no fibre in my diet, so that everything just flowed through.
There's
freely.
No clogging. That is interesting, because I always think fibre will give you the poos, but then maybe it's fibre gives you solid poos, not like diarrhea poos.
Yeah, I think that's it.
And they basically didn't want you to have loads of big solid poos.
Exactly. Back to the poo.
Wow. What
Lucky
science.
we're with bowel cancer.
Come here for your science lessons about solid poos and diarrhea poos, guys.
But that was the logic, apparently, which is also, when we're talking about medication, it was slightly pointless, I feel, because I was on morphine, which bungs you up, and that chemo could either give you diarrhea or constipation, and so you're dealing with the side effects of those. And actually the diet, it didn't make any difference eating a low fibre diet, as far as I could tell, but it was basically just white carbs, it
was like cakes, sandwiches,
milk, yogurt, like anything beige, and nothing, like I was only allowed 1 portion of fruit and 1 portion of vegetables a day, and they couldn't be anything with like a skin on it or any seeds or anything. It had to just be like mashed up carrots or...
And as we know, mashing things up gets a higher GI as well.
Yeah.
It literally goes against, this is what's infuriating, it literally goes against everything that mentally you want to do to look after yourself. So to look after yourself, eat healthy, have loads of veg.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Rainbow diet,
have the skin, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And not for you.
They gave me a list. Bless you.
Should we pause?
You don't have hay fever, do you?
No, I'm hoping not. If Ribocyclope's giving me hay fever, I'll absolutely shoot someone. I'm not dealing with it. Okay, let me just open my eyes again. Okay, carry on.
Mid-rant. I can't remember what I was even saying.
Something about fibre, GI, rainbow diet.
Oh yeah, so yeah, you want to eat as well as you can do when you've got a diagnosis in this situation, or at least that's how we've reacted to it.
Yeah, definitely.
But they gave me a list, and it was like all the things you can have was like, honestly, it had like Rice Krispies and Victoria sponge and crackers and
you were having
biscuits,
all the cake.
and I mean at first I was like, well, if the NHS tells me I should do it,
then you should do it. Me and Jess would meet up, and she was like, I'll have the croissant, and I was like, there's nothing here I can eat. So sad. And then eventually the NHS gave you the green light to add more fibre.
To add more fibre. And because it is fun at first to have a green light to just eat anything that you want, any bad thing. And it kind of took the guilt away in a way for me. But in the end, I just was saying to my oncologist, it's the worst I've ever eaten in my life. And that is the opposite of what you want to be doing when you've just been given this diagnosis. You want to be as healthy as possible.
And you want to be building up your immune system with kimchi and all of that other stuff. So everything, it's really important you have a good immune system, obviously, to fight anything inside your body, whether that's the cancer or whether it's you're getting a cold alongside your cancer. You still need to fight it all off.
Yeah.
You need your immune system, but you can't eat anything that's good.
Help. Yeah.
It's so frustrating.
It got to a point where me and my oncologist have had meetings since, and he's like, at times when the tumour's growing again, and I've just said I'm not doing a low fibre diet again. I'll manage the symptoms. Like if it looks like I'm gonna have a blockage, then I'll consider it, and I'll obviously take the medical advice in that way. But up until now, everything's been fine, and I'm not eating Victoria Sponge all day every day.
Although we do want to qualify this with, we're not doctors, and we're not saying that what we're doing is curing cancer or helping us. It's just our logical rationale telling us this feels like a sensible thing to do.
Yeah.
And I think that's what annoys me about the doctors. You think, so it really annoyed me because I thought our joint goal, me and my oncologist, was to keep me alive for basically forever. And then after my first diagnosis, and I kept saying, I've heard ashwagandha, I've heard, God knows, this type of mushroom, I've heard this supplement, creatine, I've heard whatever I've heard. I took it all to the oncologist, and they were like, no, there's just no clinical evidence to support you needing any of those things, which I get. There's no clinical trial to say that it helps or that it hinders, so it's a slight risk. But it's like, I realised, so they said to me that I will have life is limited, and I didn't ask for prognosis, but in Australia it's like 8 years, and in America it's like 18 months.
Oh wow.
But America. So, and I'm obviously a medical marvel, so I'm not worried about it either way. And I don't know what the UK one is. And blah, 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 specifics make it different. Anyway, but I was like, I realised, but you're not offering me enough for me to refuse these other things. If they were saying, don't worry, Becky, we've got this, anything that comes out, we're on top of, we're looking at, and if we think it's going to help, we will absolutely give it to you, and we're reading everything, and you will have the best chance with us. They don't say that. They say, according to the clinical trials that we have done, and the years of being on clinical trial for them to gather evidence, and then the years of them being analysed, and then them being brought out into public use, and then them being used in the NHS England, then they'll allow you to have it. And they just won't even suggest anything otherwise. And I realised, you just want me to have this quality of life, and we do not have the same goal.
Yeah.
Because quality of life for me is quantity of life, because I don't mean that in a negative way, but I just value my relationships, and so actually I just want my relationships for as long as possible.
Yeah.
So it's not like quality, like that extra alcoholic drink isn't going to be what does it for me, or I can give up the chocolate if I can have longer with my friends and family. So I feel like this quality versus quantity, I just think it's not been well thought through.
Different goals, and I think in a way it's good that the NHS has such a high threshold for an evidence base.
Yeah,
but
okay.
I think that
well done, being kind to the NHS.
But
yes,
it does mean that I don't think that they're following the most up-to-date research.
Yeah.
And so that is when you go and try and research these things yourself, like there's so much coming up at the moment about your gut microbiome, and that how important that is, how that links to your mental health, how that links to so many different things in your body. But the NHS is just not there yet, I don't think.
It's absolutely not there yet.
Because I obviously, bowel cancer, I'm saying like chemo, I already know it destroys your gut microbiome.
And your immune system.
Every time I have a round of chemo, I know that everything's being wiped. So I need to eat everything that I can do to try and boost it up.
And with the chemo, sorry, you were in mid-sentence, but it's making you feel so queasy that you can't eat, and so you're losing weight. So again, chemo's, like, we're so grateful that we have these
and
options available to us.
Episode is never going to be us saying we can cure ourselves through the diet.
We are not saying
that. We do not believe that. We
absolutely not.
just think that it's a very complementary thing that we need to be on.
It's a heavily one-sided argument, is medicine. And the medicine's great, and I absolutely love my medicine and would never stop taking it. So I want to be on it as long as I can. But I just think it's short-sighted. I think it's so one-sided. Yeah. And it's like, what about all the other things I'm putting in my body? Why is it only the medicine that matters?
Yeah.
You're taking away all my estrogen, so shouldn't I not eat estrogen-fueled foods? So some people with hormonal cancers worry about meats and dairy because of animals having estrogen, obviously. And if it's dairy and it's milk, it's the woman's hormones, isn't it? So it's estrogen.
Okay, yeah.
And then also they say that dairy is a growth hormone. They say, think about the calf that's having the cow's milk. It then grows really fast while it's having the cow's milk.
Yeah.
And that's because there's a growth hormone in it. And it's the same with, this is what we've been told by a nutritionist. It's the same with, human milk as well. Babies grow. The milk's really important. Even other milk's important. It's got a growth hormone in, according to what we've been told. I've not checked it. I've not double checked it. But it makes sense.
Yeah, so there's like a school of thought that you shouldn't, if you've got cancer, eat cow dairy because it fuels.
And cows are particularly large, so perhaps the growth hormone is particularly strong. School of thought, I don't know what evidence there is to support any of this, but I know it's a school of thought. I don't even know if tests have really been done. Whenever you talk about food being adapted into the NHS, the thing that comes back is no one's paying for that clinical trial.
Yeah.
No one's paying for it because Big Pharma can't make any money from it.
Yeah.
Because
if they
it
do
already
a trial
exists.
And then it's like, it comes out at the end that says, eat more blueberries.
They're not making any money.
Benefiting from that, really. So
they need a financial.
Sounds a bit conspiracy theory, but that is what we.
Yeah, I don't mean it is
driven by money usually.
It really is, and they just won't test. And it's the same with off-label drugs, which is where there's drugs that already exist, but they've been in circuit for so long that they've become really cheap, and Big Pharma don't make money because they're not brand new. And there's a theory, and I don't know. This is just me repeating a theory. I don't know what my thoughts are on this. But there's a theory that there's some of those drugs have anti-cancerous properties, but they'll never be, well, by Big Pharma at least, they won't be put through a clinical trial because there's no money in them because they already exist. So you're relying on charities to do clinical trials and universities to put their money in. So there are people that will do it, but it's just not the big push of Big Pharma that you kind of want.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think on the diet front, we're both trying to do our own research and we've both got nutritionists as well.
Same one.
So
we're probably really echo chambery over here.
But I think there's something in, we want to be as healthy as possible and feel like we're being as healthy as possible.
That's true.
But it's also trying not to freak out every time we eat a bit of sugar.
Yeah.
The sugar is the other big one that we have both tried to cut, like added sugar, because there is again a school of thought that added sugar will feed cancer cells. So it's sugar, honey, all that.
Yeah.
Stuff.
So the sugar one, there's more evidence linked to brain cancer, and supposedly, not a doctor, supposedly brain cancers feed on glucose and stuff. So if you're providing your body with excess glucose and you're not using it and burning it off through exercise, then it's stored, and then particularly brain cancers use it, is what some evidence suggests. This is me hearing people respond to evidence. I've not read all the papers. So it could be a whole big lie. But then people think, could it impact different cancers as well? Now, every cancer is different, and every cancer eats different things. Obviously mine eats estrogen, so they do eat different things. But could there be similarities? And there's this whole research at the minute going into metabolic cancers, so as in what are the cancers eating to continue growing. So they're looking at the like metabolic diet of the cancers. Basically that's where the research is heading in some places now. So we've decided, just to be on the safe side, to cut out some sugars. We've cut out carbs pretty much.
Well, we say carbs like processed carbs, right? Like,
so
we're getting carbs from vegetables. And like,
you're having complex carbs, aren't you?
Sometimes.
I've been a bit more strict on this one. But only because when I first started the diet, I was in full panic mode, and now I've done it. So I'm less panicked now, but I've started the diet, so I feel like I can continue. I'm not having like
brown rice, brown pasta, etc.
You'll make homemade sourdough, like fresh
homemade
baked.
Bread,
homemade
like
stuff,
seeded stuff.
Full of fibre.
Like I am actually on a high fibre diet now. Sorry, doctor.
That's good. We love it.
But and you got to do what you feel. Is coming out that it helps your gut microbiome. And just not eating processed food. I suppose that is also the benefit of not having sugar.
Having way less ready meals.
You're not having ultra processed food, which is a whole nother school of
that's
coming up. Ultra processed stuff is so bad for you, and we don't know. We've both been told that our cancer isn't genetic, it's caused by something in our lifestyle. So whether that's toxins that we're putting on our body through like skincare products,
it's a whole other episode.
Literally. Or whether it's things that we've eaten, like ultra processed food,
whether it's the stress
alcohol,
we've taken on.
So if you can mitigate some of that in some way, I think that's what's giving us a bit of comfort.
I agree. I fully believe, and I might be mad, so I'm not saying I'm right, but I really believe that there is an answer out there. So whether it's like red meats or sugars or dairy or the toxins in skincare or whatever it is, I believe there is something in our environment, 100%. I believe it, not fact, that there's something in our lifestyle that does create a negative environment which helps cancer cells grow. So maybe genetically we were like predisposed to something going on, but they can't identify every genetic cause. So just because it says you've not genetically got this cancer, it doesn't mean it wasn't genetic. It means that of all the genetics they can test for, you don't have one of those.
So you don't have an obvious gene like the BRCA gene.
For breast cancer they can test for 7. I didn't have any of the 7, but so it means I'm not genetic. But however, they're still trying to find more genes, so you never know what might pop up.
And it might just have been like multiple gene stresses,
exactly.
I think, as far as I can understand, I think that's what. So I think there's only 3 or 4 that they test for in bowel cancer, or I don't know. And one of mine has mutated, but it's not like the standard passed down genetic. It's just something that might have mutated from lifestyle factors, apparently.
So then for me, I think maybe we're genetically predisposed, and maybe we did something in our lifestyle to like egg on the quick division of cancer cells. And this is my business proposal for any money bags out there. I think we should link to, I've told some of my friends this idea already, and they were like, you need to sort it out yourself, but I think I need to pass it on to someone that might do it. So what we need to do is link to people like Zoe and MyFitnessPal and, the Whoop bands or the Aura rings, the people that like collect data on your like eating and lifestyle and stress levels and sleeping well and blah, blah, blah. Then ask those people to send out a survey saying, like, just a really quick one, have you ever been diagnosed with cancer, diabetes, like list a whole heart disease, list a whole bunch of them, and then use that data to try and figure out like, oh, actually everybody that said breast cancer, also when we get the data from all these different companies, also had high cortisol levels. I don't know. I'm not saying anything like that will even turn up. But couldn't we... The data must be out there because there's so many companies doing this. Oh, everyone that said bowel cancer actually really ate a lot of this particular product. I don't know. There might be nothing in it. But what's the harm in gathering the data and then just asking for this quick survey? If someone could just then collate the data for me, that would be great. And then, I'm not saying that's scientific evidence, but it's somewhere for someone to start.
Yeah, I do wonder what is being researched, like...
Yeah.
Because they keep saying, you know, cancer levels in young people are soaring, especially in, like, developed countries.
Yeah.
And nobody really has pinpointed the cause yet.
Yeah, because it's everything. The one I heard that I didn't know when this all happened, because obviously deodorant, red meat, burnt foods, blah, 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 all the stuff we've probably heard of. One was AstroTurf and
Really?
footballers or rugby people that are doing like big skids on AstroTurf.
Skidding around.
Skidding
their way into cancer.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Really?
Yeah, because supposedly AstroTurf needs to be changed every however many years, and it barely ever is. And it's decomposing, and because you're skidding on it, it's like roughing up. And then you're putting your face in it. So if you're doing that, I don't know, daily, or I don't know, obviously not a doctor, not a scientist,
Yeah,
don't know what I'm talking
freak out
about.
all the footballers out there.
Don't freak out.
Don't go licking AstroTurf.
Just don't go licking it. Just don't. I don't know, just help yourself.
But this is, I mean, we might be straying slightly off diet, but I suppose
Oh yeah.
Connected is all the different things that you can get from the environment that might trigger things. So what we've both done as well is microplastics is maybe another avenue. We've got toxins, we've got microplastics. Everyone's kind of heard about microplastics now.
Yeah.
But that might be another potential cause. And it's in everything. It's hard to get
Do you know what BPA is? When they say BPA free, those plastic bottles, does that mean it's good plastic, or is that still plastic and we don't like it?
I don't know.
I
think it's meant to be less toxic plastic.
But maybe not toxic free.
But it's still plastic.
The other thing food-wise we wanted to talk about as well was pesticides and organic food.
Yes. So we now have such a long list of dietary requirements, and we did not want to be those people. We weren't those people. We were like free and easy breezy.
Just take me anywhere, I'll find something on the menu.
Yeah, but no, now
it's changed.
When we're talking about meat, we want it to be
organic,
small animal, grass-fed, local, all that jazz.
On the meat thing, if you don't know where your meat's come from and it's come from a different country, each country has different rules on what they're allowed to pump it full of. So in Britain, our rules are actually vaguely okay, although you still want organic if possible. But in America or whatever, I don't know the rules for all different countries, they can pump estrogen to make them bigger. So obviously that wouldn't be good for me to have then American meat. So it's just I feel like you want to know the rules of the meat that you're eating if you've got something like this, or if you're wanting to just be healthy. And if it's organic, the animal has to eat organically as well. And some people, what I learned is that, so if there's an organic farm here and a non-organic farm here, if the non-organic farm stuff has runoff that goes into the organic farm loses its organic name.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're supposedly in Britain, they are really...
Oh, that's good.
Yeah,
so then you know that it is not accidentally unorganic.
Exactly. Yeah. And they supposedly get checked really quite frequently.
Oh, that's good.
Anyone is willing to tell me I'm a liar on that, but this is what I've been told. So at the minute, this is what I believe.
Yeah, so we're both doing organic fruit and veg to try and avoid the pesticides because, again, chemicals that you don't want in your body.
Yeah. I'm only having berries and citrus fruit as well because this isn't for everyone. I literally would not do this if I didn't panic diet about myself. So I'm not recommending this for others. But in an apple, like a pink lady apple, which were my favourite, there's like 17 grams of sugar. So I'm sure it's all more healthy and stuff because it's fruit, but I've actually decided to go for a while on just berries and citrus and to really lower my sugar intake.
Yeah, so when you mentioned earlier GI, glycemic index, we're kind of trying to go low glycemic index. So you can Google the glycemic index of different foods, and things that are a bit more starchy and carby, like white potatoes, a high glycemic index, meaning that it spikes your blood sugar a little bit quicker than something that's low glycemic index. But it's really surprising because things that are super sweet, like berries, they're actually low glycemic index, so they don't spike you, and they're actually quite good to
But
eat.
I think my only question mark on all of this is the glycemic index. It does not seem to be one rule for all. There's just loads of random websites that seem to just make up numbers. They're all vaguely aligned, so it's fine, and they all vaguely make sense. But my question is that it doesn't really say quantity. So like a raspberry is tiny, compared to an apple. So I don't really know, like, but if I eat a whole punnet of raspberries, what am I doing? Who knows what I'm doing, because I can't really find the information on it.
Yeah,
and I don't know eat a whole punnet. It's not. I'm not a one raspberry gal.
No, no one is.
No one is.
Madness. But I think it might just be the balance of the fibre content. So that makes sense. Okay.
So what we learned was, if it's high sugar, it's a problem, but if it's also high fibre, it kind of balances out a little bit. And there's something called the glycemic load, which is something like fibre minus the fibre of the product minus the sugar of the product, or something like that. That's not necessarily accurate, and I probably shouldn't have said it, but it's out there now. You can do your own research. But there's something along those lines.
Okay.
And how you prep a piece of food also changes the glycemic index. So if you mash it up, you take away all the fibre, because the fibre is the structure. And if you take away the fibre, then you are just left with the sugar. So it goes in and you have a quicker spike. Whereas if you have foods whole, you have the sugar content, but it goes through more slowly. And for me, at least, it's important for me to stay a good non-fat weight, because your fat produces estrogen. So I have drugs that shut off my estrogen from my ovaries, but I also have drugs that shut off my estrogen from my fat. So I don't want any excess fat. So if you eat loads of sugar and you don't use it straight away, it's going to then be stored and it'll turn into fat, which I don't want.
Will then add estrogen.
And supposedly, if you follow a bit of a keto diet, then you're using way less glucose, because it's basically hardly any glucose. So you start using your fat for energy instead of your glucose, which then also, for me, hopefully will bring down my fat levels.
Yeah, but then trying to do all of these things and maintain a healthy weight is not really the balance that I have cracked yet. You're doing well though.
But I did have a big dip at the start, and then I literally just had snacks of nuts, and that's kept my weight a good weight. The one thing that I will repeat that's been said to me by every single doctor that's either a friend doctor or a doctor that's part of this process with me, every single one has said, do not become underweight, whatever you do. The most important thing is to keep your weight up, to be healthy. Obviously, like, don't get fat, that's not what they're saying, but like, do not get underweight. You need to be strong.
Yeah, and I think also for me, the chemo levels the dosages are based on weight. Yeah. So if you fluctuate too much, then I don't know what impact that has on your chemo, your dosages. So yeah, I've lost a bit of weight, but I'm trying.
Jess is on a difficult one, though. She has to eat in her 2-week break, and then when she's 2 weeks on
try
chemo,
and fatten back up again in the 2 weeks off.
It's like we said this last time, you're bulking and cutting.
Yeah.
But in a really short period of time.
Yeah.
But you can talk to the doctors about that and see what they say.
Yeah, exactly.
Because they don't want you to lose weight either.
Yeah, exactly. At least we're on board with that shared goal.
Yeah, shared goal.
But they'll probably tell me to just eat cake and fatten up, which
they actually
I'm not
probably
will.
Do. That is actually probably what they'll say.
They probably would.
You should ask, and then we should say what they say next time on here. Report back.
Yeah. Also, another interesting thing we've both done was we did the Zoe thing, whatever, experiment testing, whatever it's called.
It's like a blood test, a poo test, and
a fat test.
Fat test.
Tells you how you digest all these things, but we had a continuous glucose monitor on for 2 weeks as part of that process. And that is actually really interesting just to see, like, I think personalized nutrition is becoming a thing, because with that app you eat certain things and then it tells you how you've reacted to those things.
I think so. For me, for Zoe, I think the 2 weeks with the blood glucose monitor, I got a lot out of, which you can actually buy a blood glucose monitor from Boots for like 40 quid. But I then haven't used it as its main intention, which is to use every day and record your food, because it's just not like usable with my diet, because I'm actually on like, so for me, with my hormonal cancer, I have cut out most dairy. I've cut out a lot of meat. I've cut out a lot of carbs. So that wouldn't be for a normal person a standard balanced healthy diet. So the app doesn't really work for me. And the other thing that didn't work for me is the poo sample. You send off a poo sample in the post, and then you're meant to say how long it takes until you get a green poo. And I didn't,
because you have to eat a biscuit with dye in it, not just something weird's happening in your body.
You have a green biscuit, and then you're like, oh, and 6 hours later or 24 hours later, I had a green poo. But I never had a green poo. So then when you read it, it's like, 30% of people don't have a green poo, and you're like, oh, so I've just paid for nothing for that. So next time, if I wanted to do it, I think I'd just do the blood glucose monitor.
Yeah, I think the thing that surprised me with that, and also where all this is why it's really difficult trying to do this diet stuff on your own, because we're doing all of our own research and we just don't have the background. But the thing with me is there's so much stuff online about, like, porridge, for example, oats having a specific good thing that's great for your gut microbiome. But when I ate it, it just spiked my blood glucose.
Yeah, because oats are full of sugar.
It's just pure carbs. So, but actually one of the things I did learn with Zoe, wasp, is how to combine foods. So if you're eating carbs, you want to eat it with protein and fat as well, and that's levels out the blood spike, the glucose spike.
And you want to have your greens before you have your carbs. So that's why, like, get a starter and have a green salad before your main meal, and that will lower your blood sugar.
Yeah, which is really interesting. So, like, even if, I mean, a lot of the stuff that we're talking about is obviously because specifically we have cancer. I wouldn't recommend do what you want. Stuff.
We also want you to live a carefree life, and
except don't eat ultra processed food, I would say.
Okay, yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
But I felt so carefree. I was Carefree Becky is what they called me. Said no one ever.
New nickname on the street.
New nickname on the street. What I thought about
one
myself.
Nipple Becky.
One nipple Becky. I went
nipple.
from Carefree Becky to One Nipple Becky. It's like been a really rough ride. And then Carefree Becky could go to, like, pour me another glass, sure. I'll have a wine. Oh. Yeah, I'll just have whatever you're having at the bar. Yeah, we can share that meal or whatever. Yeah, I'll go to any restaurant, just book me in.
Yeah.
Now I'm like, well, I'm not having carbs, so I've cut out all standard carbs like rice, bread, pastas, dough for pizza and all of that. I've cut out potato and sweet potato, but I do have other root veg, and there are carbs in root veg. I've cut out all sugars that are obvious sugars. It's like sweets, cookies, chocolate, but I do have 100% chocolate now, which I've learned to find tasty.
Yeah,
but I used to have a big sweet tooth.
Oh, me too.
I've cut out pastries as well. That's reminding me of croissants, and I'm sad about that. So, and then what else have I cut out? I've cut out dairy milk, but I don't have soya because it's a phytoestrogen. I don't have coconut because I just don't like it, which is a shame. So I have almond milk, but not everywhere does that, so I have to take around my own milk.
Yeah.
So now I'm trying to like black coffee, but I'm getting there actually with that, so that's okay. I'm not having too much meat, and if it's a nice restaurant where I kind of trust the meat, I might have it, but otherwise not. So I'm having a lot of fish and prawns, which I've also had to learn to like, but that's okay. Making progress. So then once you've reeled that off to everyone, they're like, well, could you just find the restaurant, because I've got no fucking clue.
Yeah.
And I don't want to, because I'm lazy and I've done enough admin, but I have to, because I am now the problem child.
I know, it's so sad. And I lived in China for a while, and one of my favourite things was to try and find authentic Chinese food in the UK. And like London, it's really coming up now, and Manchester has some great restaurants. It's not like takeaway Chinese, because that's horrible. but actual Chinese food.
I love takeaway Chinese.
Oh,
I don't have that anymore, but so good.
But trying to find those restaurants, and now it's like I just can't eat any of that probably because it's carbs, it's like noodles,
I find this a lot.
Dumplings. You don't know where the meat's coming from, you don't know what's added into the sauces that they're using. Like
there's the whole MSG thing, which I don't fully understand, but I know that it's been a thing. It's the same when you get takeaway, say an Indian takeaway, and you can have the curry because there's some like lentil based tomato curries or whatever, so pretty much you can be as confident as you can ever be that the ingredients will be fine. But then the only options of sides are rice and naan bread, or what are they called, the smaller breads, begin with a P.
Pakora?
No, that's like an onion bhaji. Chapati, didn't begin with a P.
Had a P in it.
Had a P in it, thanks. Or whatever else it is, but it's all carbs.
Roti.
Roti.
God.
Now we're just saying words. But you can't
all the Indian words I know.
I need to have vegetables or cauliflower rice. So the diet is fine, but it's just people don't cater for it. And let me just, carry on.
Go on the rant.
When you're in hospital and you want to eat, thank you, you want to eat well, including there's like a Yorkshire Cancer Cafe, and I love that Yorkshire.
Is there?
Yeah. In Harrogate. I love that. So there's Yorkshire Cancer Charity, and I love that. Like, great, do good work, it's great. You go to their cafe, I feel like I shouldn't have said the name because I bet this is everywhere. This is not them. But it's just, and it's in hospital, so forget about the charity. Everything there to eat is crap. Like, and I don't mean crap as in bad. I mean like pancakes, bread, jacket potato, like so all stuff actually you'd think was a really lovely menu, but actually stuff that it's super processed. It's like all white, high carb.
Yeah.
So even when you're going to places, so then maybe I should open a cafe. Yeah. And it would be a super healthy cafe.
Yeah, but then this is the thing that we were talking about earlier, like, what do we even call our dietary requirements? Because you can't say you're vegan because you are eating a bit of meat. Yeah. You can't, I don't know, how do you, vegans would also eat ultra-processed
I feel like it's a slight diabetic.
Fake meat is ultra-processed.
It's slightly diabetic. But also I've given up dairy but not cheese because I just can't do it to myself. So I'm a liar. What else? I've given up alcohol except I'll allow myself the odd glass of champagne.
Well, why not? You've got to go the best.
I've got to go the best. It's like low sugar champagne, and it's because whenever we champagne, it's like a toast.
But I can't have a little bit.
You just have I only have a small glass, but it's way less sugary than prosecco and stuff. So
going back to hospital stuff as well.
Oh yeah, mid-rant. How did that happen?
I hope everyone's enjoying us getting all of our dietary requirement rants out. But honestly, when I was in hospital, trying to eat healthy is a nightmare. And there was one point where I was like, right, the breakfast options are either bread, you can have white bread or brown bread with jam or butter.
Yep.
You can have cereals, which are all either ultra-processed or just full of carbs.
Yep.
Or you can have porridge, which again is when you're just eating it on its own without any like nuts, blah, 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 to mitigate the sugar spike, is just pure sugar.
Yep.
And so I was like, one day I was like, right, okay, what is the least bad option out of all of this? I tried to have some porridge and she was like, there you go, love, I've added a spoonful of sugar in there for you. And I was like, why have you done that? Like, she thought she was being nice. But I was like, look, I'm really sorry, but I don't eat sugar. Can you remake it just... It was one of those, like, pots, so I already knew it was ultra-processed. And then I looked at the ingredients, and it already had sugar in it. It had added sugar.
Of course it did.
So I was like, why are you feeding... And
tell this one.
This is... I shouldn't be slagging off other patients in the hospital. But here we go.
But we're here for it. Give the people what they want.
I was being nosy, because there's no privacy on those wards, so you know what everyone's taking, blah, blah. So there was this woman opposite me. She was taking diabetics medication, and the nurse was coming around and saying, we need to take your blood sugar in the morning to see how you're doing. So she obviously had diabetes.
Yeah.
And then when she came round, she obviously did not tell the food lady that she had diabetes, because the woman automatically just wants to add sugar to everything because I don't know if she thinks that that's being kind. But she was like, do you want some sugar on your cereal, love? And the diabetic woman was like, yeah, just a couple of spoonfuls. And I was like,
help yourself. Help yourself. We're so reliant on the medicine that we've forgotten that we can help ourselves.
Yeah, and I like... me being kind, there is obviously a school of
me
thought.
being so kind.
Just some people, like you said, that woman at the Shine event, she just pressed the fuck it button and was like, if I'm going to have cancer, I'm going to eat what I want, I'm going to drink what I want.
There is a fuck it button to press.
Fuck it.
And absolutely go press it when you're ready.
Yeah, so this lady might have been on the fuck it button, I don't know.
That's true.
But I was sitting there thinking, I don't even have diabetes and I'm trying to cut my sugar and there's nothing that I can eat in this hospital. And you are sitting there getting pumped full of diabetic medication and adding sugar to things. What's wrong with you?
I know. But then it also does depend on... some people are meant to have more sugar, aren't they?
Are they? I don't think if you've got diabetes you are, though.
Isn't there type 1 and type 2?
Yeah, but I think that's just whether you're born with it or whether you genetically...
I think one of them...
maybe she had type 2.
Well, one of them... I still think you shouldn't. I think one of them, you're meant to have some sugar... But I don't think it's, like, the healthiest thing to have a couple of extra spoons with your cereal.
And she was having it in her tea as well.
I don't think...
Just to slag her off some more.
I do think she probably wasn't living a best life.
No, she was not.
And
I was angry about it.
Yeah. And I think you've got every right, because when you're doing so much work for your own diet, it is infuriating watching people not do anything about theirs. And do you know what's crazy now? In terms of alcohol, I've cut down my alcohol so much. I reckon I've had like 3 glasses of champagne since October, or 4 glasses, and we're now in May, maybe 4 glasses of champagne since October. So I'm not teetotal, but I've massively cut down. And I never had a super unhealthy diet with relationship with alcohol. I'd like probably drink less than my friends because I'm just slower at drinking, but then I would still have plenty. Anyway, whatever. Boring. The point is that now I realise it was so unhealthy. Because a couple of glasses of wine a night, I now don't need that at all.
Yeah.
I now, like, my 1 glass of champagne at a party is kind of enough. The only thing that bothers me sometimes is when people are sharing a bottle, so I'll have, like, the tiniest sip of Mark's just so I can be like, oh, yes, full-bodied. I just want to be able to, like, chime in and know what we're all talking about. But really... I don't need the alcohol.
Yeah.
Or if the only other problem is when a place doesn't offer a very good option for me. So if I'm not having sugar, I can't have most soft drinks, like no cola, no Fanta, no lemonade, even tonic's a bit shitty.
Yeah.
So I'm having like a load of dash cans or fizzy water or just plain water. Even the lime cordials, ultra processed, so I just have fresh lime squeezed.
When I had the Zoe monitor on, I had
that's how I found out it was from you.
Soda. It was the biggest blood sugar spike that I'd had from anything, which is a lime and soda.
And you think you're being healthy.
Yeah, you don't think it's that sugary.
You don't, because it put such a small amount in.
Yeah,
and I used to love squash, so we've got rid of squash. So sometimes you feel a bit sad that you can't just join in with something you want, because sometimes the only option is water.
Yeah.
And non-alcoholic beers, I'll occasionally have a non-alcoholic beer, but I'm not meant to have loads because yeast, something to do with yeast and a growth hormone, but I'm not 100% sure on that. So I haven't done research, but I'm just believing it. So I'm having few, but some have like 6 grams of sugar per 100 ml, and some have 0.01 grams of sugar per 100 ml. So it really varies. So if you go to a pub and it's a heavy one, then you can't have it, but some pubs offer a really low sugar one, which is much better. So you have to do, it's not all are equal. And just one last thing, because this has been going on for ages, so sorry. Milks, I saw an almond milk, and the first ingredient for almond milk is always water. And then I always look at the ingredients and the sugar levels of pretty much all my food now. So the sugar levels can vary.
We're that kind of person.
We are that kind of person.
Imagine us shopping.
Oh, I refuse to go in the supermarket if I can. And then the ingredients, obviously full of crap, but you can get good ones. One almond milk, and I can't remember which brand it was, otherwise I'd call them out. Their first ingredient was water, their second ingredient was oats, and then it was almonds. So you were basically drinking oat milk, but it was called almond milk, so it also had almonds in. So you do need to look at those ingredients.
Yeah, and also a lot of those milks have oil in them, which sounds gross.
Although for an almond milk, you need a little bit of emulsifier, which is like your oil, because otherwise it really curdles.
Yeah.
So I think it also depends what temperature you add it into your drink. But if you add it into a boiling water, it just super curdles. And I haven't found the perfect temperature yet. But I go for as healthy as possible. But if it's got a little bit of oil in, I accept it just so I've not got curdle.
Fair. No one wants a curdly coffee.
Nobody does. It's really not great. It doesn't only look bad. It changes the taste.
Yeah.
And the texture.
So yeah, I think that's probably our very extensive. I think this is our longest episode yet.
This is our longest episode yet.
You can tell
Apologies.
how hurt we are at this bloody dietary shite that we have to deal with.
We're just hurt about it. But we're about to go and do yoga and we have to leave in 5 minutes to get there in time.
Namaste.
Namaste.
So thank you all, as always, for listening in. I know we've caveated throughout, but this is just our understanding what we are doing because we already have cancer.
And if someone has cancer and has pressed the fuck it button,
yeah, that's also totally fine.
Do it.
I think for us this is about control and making ourselves feel like we're doing the best that we can. But that's just our take.
Some people have cancer and it's not the fuck it button, they just don't believe this will make any difference, and that's also fine.
Yeah.
Because we are not backing ourselves with 100% this is truth. We're just acting on some information in case it works.
Yeah. So anyway, I hope that there was some useful stuff in there, and you don't mind us just ranting about food things
for nearly an hour. I didn't know we had that much to say, but we felt passionately.
There we go.
Like and subscribe, guys.
Yeah, thanks.
Bye.